The Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.
Hello again and welcome to the Friday Rugby Preview, your weekly update on all the Borders clubs, including the East League teams from the area. With me again is Robin Purdie. We start as always by going through last weekend's results after 7 rounds in the Premiership and National 1, and we begin with Currie 16, Watsonians 13.
Yes, Stuart, great win for Currie. They've really got their act together in recent times after a slow start. And yeah, it's a statement win because it's against one of the ex-Super 6 teams, so they're very much looking up the table now, and I think the smart money would be on them, you know, to really push for that fourth place in the playoffs. They've got the strongest squad out with the ex-Super 6 big three, if you like. Of that there is no doubt. Watsonians, that's a wee bit of a bump in the road for them. They'd already lost a couple of games this season. They still will finish third as far as I'm concerned, but their chances of a home semi now are between slim and none, I would say.
And of course that was the first weekend really where we had some pretty awful weather.
Yeah, it was, and we've spoke about it before, that, you know, there are teams that are better suited to these kind of conditions that we're going to see a lot of in the coming weeks and months, and Currie are one of those teams. They've got some big old lumps in there, and it's, you know, they know what to do on a wet day, and it's, you know, it's kind of almost ideally suited to them a night like that.
Accies didn't like the weather, clearly, because they lost at home to Glasgow Hawks, 25 points to 12. Hawks doubling Accies' score away from home. Yeah,
and you'd have got quite a good price on that. I would say that's a brilliant win for Hawks. All credit to them. They're a wee bit of a bumpy couple of weeks for Accies now. They were pretty poor, in all honesty, the week before against Selkirk, and they would have been hoping for a better reaction than that. And you know, they would have had this game with the best will in the world. They'd have had this game marked in the calendar as a winnable one. But yeah, that's a brilliant win for Hawks, and again, they are just maybe surprising a few people this season with some of the results.
Hawick 27, Selkirk 22. Selkirk, a late show again from them, getting the double bonus point, which certainly is going to be a plus for them. But as we'll hear later on, very disappointed they didn't get all 5.
Yeah, I think so. They got off to a fast start by the sounds of things in that game, but that's a brilliant win for Hawick for me, Stuart, because I think that was a game that Selkirk coming into that on a bit of a high, and Hawick's squad, let's be candidly honest, it's not as strong as it's been in recent times. Yeah, Selkirk might have been hoping for a victory there, but I thought it was quite interesting. All I could hear on the radio commentary, or you know, my perception of it was, I just kept hearing the same names: Muir, Mitchell, Fraser Rennick, Kirkford, i.e. the top guys by the sounds of things have really stepped up in that game and you know, brought the others along with them.
And Hawick, yet another try bonus. They're certainly racking the tries.
Oh yeah, it's almost a try scoring revolution at Mansfield, and yeah, it's almost went full circle. They're racking up lots of tries, but they're maybe just a wee bit more porous in defence than they've been in previous years. But you know, the people at Mansfield, the fans at Mansfield, certainly getting their money's worth, that's for sure.
Heriot 66, Musselburgh 14. Musselburgh struggling. Heriot's a bit of a backlash from the previous week.
Musselburgh were, always going to take one there. You say a bit of a backlash. Heriot's had that disappointing result the week before, and it was never going to be anything other than 5 points. And that's no disrespect to Musselburgh. They're propping up the table, and they're travelling to one of the Super Series big three. So it was always going to be a comfortable win for Heriot's that, and Musselburgh just need to keep plugging away, trying to pick up what they can. Victories, of course, but bonus points here and there. But yeah, Heriot's kind of back on the horse, so to speak, and pretty comfortable now at second in the table.
Musselburgh, of course, if you're a Musselburgh fan listening to this, you'll be hanging your hat on 2 seasons ago when, of course, they wagged their tail. They were written off well before the end and managed to put in a series of wins and managed to stay up with GHA going down, and that was a big surprise.
Oh, it was. They were absolutely dead and buried that season, and it was Lazarus, wasn't it? It was Phoenix from the Flames, and it's potentially going to need something again like that, Stuart. But you know, this season, but you can bet your bottom dollar with Musselburgh, they are going to give absolutely everything. They've got plenty fight, plenty dog, and they are going to pick up wins here and there. You know, particularly at home, there are teams that are going to come unstuck there, like Kelso did earlier in the season. So yeah, Musselburgh just have to keep plugging away.
Marr 7, Ayr 40. The game won by half-time. I think it was 33-0 at half-time. Just 7 each after the break. Ayr seemed to have either a brilliant first half or a brilliant second half, but they always seem to do enough to win.
They're just so impressive. They're massively professional. And what I mean by that is, they just get the job done, it seems, week after week. That looked to me like a classic silence the crowd early doors, because I would imagine it would be pretty raucous through there. I imagine it was a great occasion.
Well, we've been at Marr, haven't we? We know how partisan the crowd are.
Oh,
there.
yeah, and I love that.
Absolutely.
That's great. I have no problem with that whatsoever, and I imagine they were ultra partisan, but Ayr have came out first half, absolutely blown them away, and if they've taken the foot off the gas second half and let Marr... I think the second half was a draw actually, but job done, 5 points in the back, down the 6-7 miles back there, whatever it may be. Good, brilliant result for you.
Now, you were at the Melrose Kelso game. It ended 31-28. For a long time, it looked as if we were going to get a high-scoring draw with both of them going away with 3 points, which wouldn't have been a bad result for both of them. In the end, Melrose penalty by Luke Townsend, 31-28. Kelso going away with just 2 points.
The game maybe merited more for Kelso. I think Nicky Walker will still be scratching his head, thinking, how did he not win that game? They had so much possession, so much territory, they were winning collisions, etc. Melrose, it's that classic thing, all credit to them, because they've won the game. They've picked up 5 points from the game when they didn't play well, and for swathes of the game they stank the place out, if I'm being candidly honest, but they won't give a jot. I would imagine the coaches will think that's their best win of the season, given how they played, and still emerge with 5 points, and that's what good teams do. So brilliant win for Melrose. Good performance by Kelso. Lots of their players. I mean, there was parts of the game, Stuart. I don't know if you've seen the footage of the big South African RG Snyman playing in the Japanese, playing his club rugby in the Japanese league, and he's running about like a giant. That was Bruce McNeil and Keith Melbourne at times in that game. They were like two men in a boys' game. But yet they still only come away with 2 points from the game. I think they were bitterly disappointed. I spoke to Keith Melbourne after the game. Yeah, he was fairly broken. But from a Melrose point of view, and an old golf phrase, there's no pictures on a scorecard, as they say, and when prizes are getting handed out at the end of the season, you don't find out how they played in the games, you just see 5 points from that game.
Well, there we are. Well, the only change in the playoff positions is Melrose replacing Selkirk in the top 4. Very congested between 4th and 9th place. 6 teams separated by just 5 points.
Yeah, it's tight, isn't it? And that's good. That's what we want. We always predicted and always thought that the top 3 will be the top 3 and they'll do their own thing up there, and the more teams that are having a bit of a fight for the for placings, whether it be that 4th place or whether it be to stay out the bottom 3, the better. For us neutrals, it's it's shaping up pretty well.
And it changes every week, it seems. Marr 13 points, Kelso 10 points, and Musselburgh 5 points in the relegation zone at the moment. One of the 3 this week, Kelso, would appear to be the only team who can realistically get some points this weekend purely on form. So that gap between relegation zone could widen even still.
Yeah, it could. Kelso at home to Edinburgh, that is a massive game. It's the very definition now of a must-win game. For me, Melrose was just about must-win, but they came away with 2 points there. But this is a huge game in the context of their seasons, because they've got some tricky assignments thereafter. But yeah, it's not going to be easy against Accies, and I believe Kelso rather have a few injuries as well.
That's right, more on that later. But National won last week. Gala 13, Biggar 10. 4 more points for Gala in a low-scoring game. Gala now, though, up to 23.
I think any win's a brilliant win for Gala last Saturday after the previous result at GHA, and 13-10 doesn't sound like it was a classic, but they won't care a jot. That's a good 4 points for Gala.
GHA 24, Peebles 20. Few minutes to go to the end. Peebles in front 2017 after being down 17-3 at the break. That is an extraordinary performance, and you're mentioning there playing badly and getting 5 points, but playing out of their skins and only coming away with 1 seems a little bit unfair, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, that's the way it is. That would have been the upset of the season. We said that first weekend when Melrose, or whenever it was that Melrose, second weekend I think, when Melrose beat Currie. But yeah, that sounds like it's been an absolutely heroic performance by Peebles there, and as you say, they only come away with 1 point, sadly, but GHA dogged it out. A bit of a shock to the system for them, and that's maybe not a bad thing in the context of their season as well. I know Stirling made a point back on them, but it just woken GHA up a wee bit and made them realise maybe we're not going to scud every team by 50 points, particularly at home. And
what it will have done, of course, is give Peebles an awful lot of confidence, and the other teams in that league, in fact in all leagues, to show that give it a go and you never know.
Start well, stay in the fight, and you just never know. It'll be long odds on anybody to pick up a win now at GHA, but Peebles have came pretty close. But yeah, I think Stirling will have had a big fillip from that as well, because it'll have, given them the confidence that maybe GHA are just not quite as invincible as they've maybe looked thus far.
Now, we used to think Highland were pretty much invincible at home as well, but that's not what happened last Saturday. Highland 23, Glasgow Accies 55. Glasgow Accies a big score there. Highland 2 big defeats at home. Of course, Stirling put 60 odd points on them at Canal Park as well, and in front of your home crowd, that is surprising.
Yeah, they're not used to it up there, heavy reversals. But again, Highland, we said before, that I think they're still pretty ravaged by injuries. But let's make no bones about it, Glasgow Accies are a really good side. They are, comfortably in the top 3 sides in this division. The sort of gap that's appearing, or will potentially appear between the top 3 and the rest at some point. And they're still in the shake-up. No bones about it. They, I think, play GHA this weekend, and that is potentially a real classic. And yeah, they could give GHA a bloody nose as well.
Jed-Forest 42, Dundee 28. A big win. Of course, that was a must-win for both sides. Dundee still no win this season, but another bonus point for them. They've had 4 try bonuses and 2 losing bonuses now. So, they're no mugs. They just need that rub of the green.
Yeah, they do. The 6 points that they've had from bonus points, they could be key come the end of the season, but they do need to, they need to pick up wins from somewhere, and you don't see many wins coming against the Stirlings and the Glasgow Accies, etc. Jed just needed 5 points from that game, absolutely regardless, and that's exactly what they got, and well done, fair play to them. And yeah, Jed, it was a really important game because Jed have still got to go to Dundee, they've still got to go to Boroughmuir, and they've still got to go to Highland. They've already played those teams, the bottom 3 teams, at home. So yeah, Jed just need to keep the momentum going, and another 2 or 3 wins will do them just fine.
Well, the other result in National 1 was Stirling 55, Boroughmuir 5. The tale of 2 Super 6 teams from last season, one second in the table, the other second bottom.
Just a wee bit of a setback for Boroughmuir, actually, because they looked like they were improving maybe in recent times, but again, they're not going to be the only team that's going to see a scoreline like that at Bridge Hall.
Well, tight at the top up there. It's 33 for GHA, 31 for Stirling, 30 for Glasgow Accies. Stirling try bonuses in every game. Are they still favourites?
They're second in the table at the moment, so if them and GHA keep winning all their games,
GHA have to go to Stirling.
Well, that's it. That's the big thing. There's what might turn out to be a playoff game, and how much of an advantage will home advantage be. They probably are still slight favourites, because if injuries start to take their toll, or unavailabilities, then they probably have the strongest squad in the division. But GHA are absolutely flying, and a lot will come down, I think, to this weekend, tomorrow, when GHA play Accies. If they can get through that, then they're very much in the driving seat, and it'll be on Stirling then to try and hunt them down.
Relegation zone in National 1, Highland 12, Boroughmuir 9, Dundee 6, Peebles and Jed with 14 and 17 respectively, and a high-scoring draw on Saturday would certainly suit them both.
Yeah, I think so. Highland, we've said before, we think they'll start to pick up wins somewhere along the line. So it's a big game for both Jed and Peebles tomorrow at the Gates there, and whoever comes away with a victory, unless it is a draw, whoever comes away with a victory will be looking back down the table with a wee bit of breathing space.
Well, National 2, Berwick lost at home to Gordonians. Topsy-turvy league, with Kirkcaldy staying top despite losing to bottom club Newton Stewart at home, which was a surprise, and Lasswade won at Falkirk. Lasswade were in the relegation zone. Now they're flipped with Berwick in 8th and Newton Stewart 9th, and there's no doubt this is a very competitive division. No one can relax. Yeah,
that's definitely the case. Newton Stewart and Lasswade were propping things up, and we did think they were going to start to pick up wins. It's almost the most disastrous weekend that Berwick could have had, to be honest. Let's be honest. They lost at home, and the 2 teams below them both had victories that the table suggested they were outsiders in that game against Kirkcaldy and Falkirk respectively. So yeah, it's been a bad weekend for Berwick, that, unfortunately.
And so too tomorrow's fixtures. Weather looks reasonable. Ayr against Melrose. Ayr unbeaten with 7 bonus points, and you can't do any better than that. Melrose unbeaten though, away from home. Let's hear how joint head coach Scott Wight plans to topple the league leaders.
Great couple of weeks in terms of, for us, great to get across the line at home on Saturday, given where we've been with the previous 3 games. So, really positive to get 5 more points on the board, which is excellent. Boys are obviously buzzing for it. And, I dare say you can look at this weekend in many ways. A lot of us have kind of said it's a free shot. Nobody really expects us to go there and win. But look, it's a challenge that everybody's excited for. There's no question that, the start of the season, they've been the strongest team. They're 35 from 35. So, it'll be a huge challenge. But as I say, look, boys I look mad keen for it. Squad-wise this week, it'll remain fairly similar to last week, which is excellent. And Struan Hutchison returns from injury this week. So pretty much the same squad, to be honest, as last week, which is good for confidence, obviously, and good for, obviously, boys to keep backing up performances at the moment, given where we are. So front row will be same pack, actually, which is excellent. Half-backs, we've got a decision to make just around, obviously, Dougie Crawford, BC, Luke Townsend and Struan Hutchison, which is very exciting. And Matty Klein is actually away offshore working this week, so he's unavailable, but Declan will come back from his Shogun weekend and go in at 13 in place of Matty Klein. So the back line will remain the same. The only decision will be in and around what we do at half-backs.
So, can Melrose do a Peebles and get pretty close at least?
It's hard to see, Stuart, to be honest, and that's no disrespect to Melrose. They're on, they've surpassed my expectations this season, that's for sure. Their away wins thus far, the one at Currie in particular, was absolutely remarkable, but they, like every other team this season, it's highly like they're going to go down there and come back with nothing. They'll absolutely give it their all. There's nothing to lose, but I fancy Earth to be too strong. Kelso's pack, certainly from a collisions point of view, Kelso's big men had the freedom in the green yards last Saturday, so you wonder what kind of game the likes of Blair McPherson, etc. can have if that's the case. But yeah, nothing to lose for Melrose. Go down there and give it a crack, and you never know, 4 tries, who knows.
Well, Donald Crawford will be filing reports for us tomorrow. I bet he wishes he was on the park at Millbrae as well. He would relish a match like that. Rugby Radio, of course, starting at 2:30 as usual, all the way through till 5:30. Now, Glasgow Hawks are at home to Hawick. Always close battles between these two. Here's Hawick head coach Graeme Hogg.
We are looking forward to our first trip through to the West this weekend to play Glasgow Hawks after both teams had good wins last weekend. Obviously, we were delighted to get the 5 points against Selkirk. We've obviously analysed the game. 65, 70 minutes of that game, we were massively happy with how we played, especially defensively. I think defensively, we've obviously been working on new structures over this season, and it's not always came off for us. Last week, it certainly did, and as I say, for 65, 70 minutes before those last 2 tries, we were delighted with how we played. This week, heading into Hawks, we know it's going to be a physical encounter. It always is through at Ballgrey. Prepped well this week. We've gave boys a little bit of time off feet because a lot of boys obviously played 80 minutes last Saturday. So it's important that we recharge the batteries and we get ready to go and get ready for battle again this weekend. It's a nice situation to be in this week. We're going unchanged. So the same starting 15 will take the field this weekend, which we haven't had the luxury of this season so far, so that's quite a nice feeling for me for a change for this week. We've also added some more quality onto the bench. Russell Anderson comes back onto the bench after illness last week, and we also have Jack Hocking available, which will definitely add to some experience into that back line as well. So looking forward to the challenge. Obviously, it's been nice to go 2 wins from the last 2 games, so we're hoping to make that 3 this weekend.
So once again, try bonuses at will for the Greens, but up against a team that did to Edinburgh Accies last weekend, what Hawick weren't able to do at Raven Place, and that was get a win there. But as we've said before, it's a case of what team Hawks can put out, but also plenty of injuries within the Hawick camp too.
Yeah, there are a few injuries still, but it's good to hear that they're going with the same 15, and also Anderson and Hocking coming on the bench. That gives them a lot more depth than they had on Saturday past. It's an interesting one this, Stuart. They've both got a similar amount of points on the table. Last season we'd have been talking about the very definition of an away banker, and we were at that game last season, and Hawick won it comfortably. But I think I can see Hawick coming away with a win, absolutely, particularly if, like last weekend, they're big, what you call their big players, turn it on again. So yeah, I think it could be a tight one. This is a tough one to call, but can Hawick come away with the spoils? Absolutely they can.
Kelso will be at home to Edinburgh Accies, and as we'll hear now, Director of Rugby at Kelso, Neil Hinnigan, has plenty of big names out for this one.
Back at home this week to play Edinburgh Accies would be a tough match given the amount of absentees we have this week. Grant Shields is away on holiday. Ewen Knox has a head knock. so he'll be out for 2-3 weeks. Dan Gamble is suspended. Keith Melbourne has fractured his foot. He'll be out for around 5 weeks. In the back row, Liam Tate is done for the season, along with obviously Harry Borthwick. In the backs, Andy Tate has now hurt his other calf, and he'll be out for a little while longer again. Liam Herdman is away on holiday. Quite a lot of players not available, but the ones that are coming in will be supercharged and ready to go. And obviously it's about getting points on the board, as it's always been the last 2 or 3 weeks. So hopefully with a home crowd behind us and a bit of rub of the green this week, we can hopefully get the points off Accies.
Plenty of bad luck, certainly on the injury front, and Keith Melbourne being out, that's a big, big blow.
Oh, that's gutting to hear from a Kelso perspective, Stuart. Like I say, he was gargantuan last weekend against Melrose, him and Bruce McNeil. But yeah, he did seem like he was in a bit of pain after the game. But yeah, that's a huge loss. Grant Shields as well, and I thought I was really impressed by Herdman at 10 last week as well. So that's a blow as well. And this is a really, really key game for Kelso. You know, after this game, they've got Hawick away, Heriot's at home, Currie away, Watsonians away. Potentially not that many points other than really hard 1 points available from those 4 games. So you feel, Stuart, they need a 5-pointer this weekend, but you know the cause is not going to be helped with those absentees.
Musselburgh against Currie. Currie beginning to turn on the afterburners now and going all out to challenge for a playoff place. And a win at Stony Hill will certainly propel them further up the table, while Musselburgh still struggling. Yeah,
it's a good game for Currie. It comes at a good time for them, I would say. You know, they've had a couple of really good wins, and this should enable them to maintain momentum. Spoken before about the fact that, for me at least, they've got the strongest squad outside the top 3. And I think they'll have too much for Musselburgh there. But stranger things have happened. Musselburgh are desperate for a win, and they're going to have to be desperate for more wins throughout the rest of the campaign. But can I see this being that much of a banana skin for Currie? I can't, if I'm being honest.
Selkirk versus Heriot's next, and they'll be looking to put in a performance against the Nails, similar to the one against Ayr when they were in front at half-time. Their head coach is Sesh Henderson.
Changes in the team as Bruce Riddle will start at loose head. Luke Petty's not available this week. Taylor Wilson will also start in the pack. We might have to make a change at 10. Aaron McComb's getting to see the physio tonight just to see if he's okay or not. If not, the changes will be is Callum Anderson will start at 10, probably with Josh Welsh moving to 15. But that again that will be confirmed. From last week's game, we're pretty hard on ourselves, disappointed that we never came away with Mansfield with a win. We had opportunities. So look, it's just back to the drawing board, being honest with ourselves with our analysis, and having a hard look at ourselves where we went wrong last week. And look, we need to get a reaction this week against Heriot, another strong side, Super 6 side, who have done pretty well the last few weeks. So we know it's going to be a tough game at home, but however, it's a challenging one, the one we're looking forward to. And we know if we can perform the way that we have done in parts of the game and bring that to 80 minutes, then look, we're going to challenge Heriots in every department. But we need to be at our best, and everybody in the squad needs to challenge themselves that we can come away with this game. We get points out of it, and I'm sure we can. But we're excited about it. You know, we want to get back. We want to get more points this week and challenge Heriot's to try and get the win down at home. So we're looking forward to it.
Another big test for Selkirk, but they are at home. They've been very competitive this season. They've won 4 out of 7, and with people like Jack Fisher in there, who's kind of been there, done that. You know, played Super 6 rugby as well, calming the nerves and galvanising the team, and that's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, he's been a massive addition to them. Him and arguably the form player in the division right now in Corey Tate. He really is on fire for Selkirk at the moment. So they've been brilliant additions. This will be a really tough test, though, Stuart. Let's be honest about it. Heriot's good side, ex-Super Series. Selkirk, it's a big 3 weeks for Selkirk. They've got Heriot's at home, they've got Currie away, and then Watsonians at home. Tough assignments, and as great as they've been and as much pleasure as I've had watching Selkirk on the numerous times I've seen them this season, if they can come away from those 3 games with almost a smattering of bonus points, then I think that'll be a pretty good outcome. But yeah, it's a banana skin for Heriot's this one, but I do see them prevailing.
Watsonians against Marr. Marr certainly haven't travelled well this season, and this is another big test for them, particularly after meeting Ayr last week.
Oh, definitely. It's going to be a tough game. Two Super Series teams. in a row, and Watsonians, they'll be smarting from the defeat last Friday night. They were missing a few of what I'd call their big names, so I don't know if they'll be back for tomorrow, but yeah, I can only see one outcome. Marr will give their all as they always do, but they've not travelled that well this season, and Watsonians will be a bridge too far tomorrow.
International one then, and Biggar versus Highland is an intriguing one, this, because 7 points apart in the table. Highland have a chance to close the gap on them, but if Biggar get the victory, that will be a huge boost for them, and suddenly a double-figure lead over Highland, which would see Biggar take a big leap towards safety.
Yeah, definitely. Biggar will be looking to win this one. Highland travel a lot better nowadays than they used to. Of course, they won at Peebles, and they should have really won at Jed as well. So they won't be too daunted by the trip to Biggar. And Biggar have had a wee bit of a mixed bag this season, but you're right. It's a big game in the context of the season for both of these clubs. But Biggar can put a good bit of daylight between themselves and those at the bottom. But if Highland can sneak a win, then they're starting to claw their way out of it as well. So yeah, big game there tomorrow.
Little quiz for you now. 10 teams in National 1 last season, 10 teams this season as well. We know 3 are going down. If this had been last season, guess how many points you would have needed to survive in a 10-team league. So how many points did the 4th bottom team get for safety last season?
35, 36.
It was actually 40.
Wow.
Would you believe? So, yes, it's an interesting one there. So we were talking about 30, 35 and you might be safe. But in fact, you might have to go into the 40s this season, particularly in such a competitive league.
Yeah, possibly. Well, that puts almost a different slant on things. So what does that mean in real terms? That's 6 bonus point victories plus a bit more. It's a big ask for a lot of these teams, Stuart. Yeah. There's 6 or 7 wins plus a few bonus points. It's a big ask.
And of course, if this had been last season, Gala would have been relegated with 7 wins and 39 points. Dundee had 6 wins with 33, and GHK got 3 wins with 21 points. So intriguing stuff, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. And yeah, what a Gala, seven wins last season wouldn't have been enough. So yeah, that gives, when you put it like that gives some of these non-big 3 in this division teams a lot to think about.
Yeah, because that would have been 28 points from wins and 11 bonus points, and still going down.
Right. Wow. Yeah. So yeah, get the wins when you can, guys.
Boroughmuir, they host Gala. Gala haven't travelled well this season, apart to Dundee, and that was a good win. And this is an opportunity to put some serious daylight between themselves and Boroughmuir, because they're currently on 23 points, as we mentioned earlier in the programme. Boroughmuir only have 9. Here's what Maroons Director of Rugby, Ewen Swinton, has to say this week.
Last week's game against Biggar was something of a bonus for us in that we had 6 frontline forwards missing on the day. And so to produce a winning result was a tremendous outcome for the club. You've got to give a lot of credit to some of the young guys who came in and filled the gaps. Chap like Sam Smith, who hadn't played a game of rugby this year and had trained only minimally, albeit he's prepping for the forces. He came in and gave us 80 minutes of pure guts and determination that is typical Sam, really. He's a great lad, and he put in a sterling performance on Saturday. He was backed up by Daniel Kerr, who gives us options in the line-out in the back row, keeping Craig Keddy company. So these 2 guys and some of the older heads who filled in did a tremendous job of digging out a result for us on a day when we weren't sure we could get it. They were backed up in the backs as well. John Turnbull had a fantastic game and became our man of the match, but it was messy stuff. Biggar will be disappointed to go away with the defeat, no doubt about that. But huge credit to our guys for digging out a win when it was really against the odds. So that gives us lots of encouragement to head up to Boroughmuir this week. We are strengthened by the return of some of our frontline players. Tim McCavanagh's back from a trip to London, and Ryan Montgomery comes back into the equation as well. These 2 will make a difference, and all of a sudden the pack just has a wee bit more solidity, and we're backed up by guys who've come in and done a job for us. So it's good when you have to challenge people and they stand up and be counted, and then when it comes to the equation for following weeks, maybe they're in a discussion that they weren't previously. So Going up to Boroughmuir, they are having a struggle this year, but they are close in a lot of the games that they've lost, so they're going to get our 100% respect. We will take them seriously, give it absolutely everything to come away with a result, which would mean an awful lot to us in terms of where it'll place us at the end of the first half of the season. So yeah, it's a big game for us this. We've got a tough one next week against Stirling County, so to get a win on the road this week would mean an enormous amount to the club and to all of the players. We're on a good run. We are eking out results where the games look tough for us, and I'm very hopeful that we can do the same in Edinburgh on Saturday.
5 wins out of 7 for Gala, only 3 bonus points, and they're all tri-bonuses.
Yeah, it's been a brilliant start for me. They've had a couple of heavy reversals to some of the stronger teams in the division, but to keep winning against the other teams is the main objective.
And now 4 wins at home, all 4.
Yeah, 4 wins, brilliant side at home when they've got home advantage. It's a wee bit of a challenge this for Gala. It's certainly a big game anyway, because with Boroughmuir, it really depends on who they have available. If they have the likes of Jordan Edmonds available, then this is a banana skin-esque assignment. But if Gala can come away with even 4 points here, never mind 5, that would be massive, because in the subsequent weeks they've got Stirling at home, a trip to Canal Park to face Highland, and then GHA at home. So Gala could just do without losing this game, because then all of a sudden there could be very little for a few weeks. So big game this for the Maroons.
Match of the day in National 1 perhaps. Glasgow Accies against GHA. Has to be that one, hasn't it? Third against first. Home advantage for Accies. They'll have been poring over the video of last Saturday's game against Peebles and planning the downfall of GHA. No doubt about that. GHA, on the other hand, will be looking to bounce back with a winning performance, and, they could cut loose.
Oh yeah, and never mind match of the day in National 1. This is match of the day for in the top 3 divisions for me. This has got the look of a brilliant game. Accies home advantage against the league leaders. Accies, looking to get right back in amongst it in terms of their title aspirations. Be a big crowd there. Be pretty vocal, I would imagine, and tough one to call. Again, pre-Peebles game, you said, well, GHA probably should have enough. Glasgow Accies took a sore one against Stirling, I think it was, early in the season, but that's all gone out the window now. GHA don't look quite as invincible potentially. It seems ridiculous to say, having not put a cricket score on a team, they don't look quite as invincible. But yeah, that's going to be a ding-dong there tomorrow.
And so to the Border Derby tomorrow between Peebles and Jed-Forest. It's a Border League doubleheader. We'll hear from both head coaches now. Stuart Johnson from Jed, and first Graeme Paterson of Peebles.
So prior to last Saturday's game against GHA, people doing their predictions and forecasts probably wouldn't have given us much chance of winning that game, and really probably only ourselves internally were going out there with the mindset that we could win it, and certainly we talked about that certainly in training on last Thursday about giving ourselves an opportunity, and we certainly did that. First half, poor line-out execution and discipline kind of let us down a wee bit and allowed them to build up a lead. So turning around at 17-3, people again probably would have thought, well, that's GHA going to kick on, and this is a side that is averaging 45 points per game. So you're thinking they're going to, as a GHA supporter and a neutral supporter, and probably any supporter, thinking that GHA are going to dominate that second half as well. But fair play, some adjustments that we made at half time, and also the impact of the bench. Saw a completely different picture in the second half. Our intensity in carries was way above what we had in the first half. We were gaining ground. We were putting them under extreme pressure, both in terms of physicality and time-wise, which led to sort of a switch in the discipline element of the game. We had 10 penalties in the first half. They had 10 penalties in the second half against them. So it just completely flipped round, and we created that pressure on them, which resulted in 2 tries. One of them through a driving maul, which was given as a penalty try as they collapsed it, and a yellow card, and also Rory McCaffrey slotting over a penalty as well. So going into that last 10 minutes, we were 20 points to 17 up, and the unlikely had happened and become a real possibility, getting ourselves into a position to take on the top of the table unbeaten team at their ground and gave ourselves a real chance of winning that game. Unfortunately, we just could not hold them out, and fair play to GHA, they came back in that last 10 minutes and again applied some pressure. They gave themselves a shake, if you like, literally, and got themselves back into a position where they went over for that crucial score a few minutes before the end. I mean, again, we applied pressure and tried to get that winning score ourselves, but just could not get over that line. But what I will say is testament to the players, their application in that second half, their effort levels in defence in this first half. I mean, there was several sets of defence which was, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and held them out. And then again in the second half, that was flipped round, and several sustained periods of attack pressure as well. So I can't ask any more of the players in terms of effort. What we need to do is improve on our execution levels, and that's something we've talked about and worked on this week at training. But again, in hindsight, you would have said a point is a good result away from home at GHA. Given the way that they've been going this season. But again, there's just that little wee nagging doubt and wee bit disappointment that it's a game we could have won. But we'll take the point and move on. This week, in terms of squad selection, a few numbers coming back in. Finlay Collins and Davy Collins, both back available, as well as William Napier. So they'll come into the mix in terms of both starting and on the bench. Really pleasing to see young Ollie Furness as well. He's been out for over a year with knee injury. He sustained just at the point he was going to be kind of transitioning into adult rugby. Along with his pal Ross Wolfenden, but he sustained that injury and has kept him out up until now. Really pleasing to see him back on the field, and he'll come into the mix in terms of being part of that squad. He's a real good talent. Kel McKeever's carrying a wee ankle injury which will need to get assessed, and Rue Smith's still recovering from his calf strain. He probably needs another week. But we go into Jed, confident with the squad that's available, that we can go out there and really springboard into this final couple of games of the first half of the season. We know it's going to be difficult. We talked about it before the Gala game when I was speaking to Dale about this mental block in terms of playing against other Border League teams. Last week will show, I know it's not a Border team, GHA, but that's a team that's been putting other clubs to the sword this season. We should not fear going into playing Jed on Saturday. We know they're going to come hard and fast at us and physically. So we need to front up and show that physicality and aggression and cohesion that we showed against GHA and apply a slightly better execution, and I'm positive that we will get the outcome that we crave in terms of getting that win, and hopefully a 5-point win, which will take us on to the final game against Dundee the next again week.
We're looking forward to going to the Gates on Saturday for another big game for us. After getting 5 points on Saturday at home against Dundee, big focus this week's been on our defence after leaking 4 tries, but we're going with confidence after putting in a really good attacking performance against Dundee, and our attack shape looked really sharp at times. So we'll go with that, and I say hopefully shore up our defence a little bit against a Peebles side that's obviously pretty stuffy, and they don't leak many points. So our attack will need to be on point, and if we can get our defence right as well, I'm sure it'll be a tough border derby as usual. Team-wise, we've lost Gregor Young. Unfortunately, he's having to go in for an operation on his biceps, so that's a massive loss for us. But look, Robbie Shearagib comes back in after being away the last 2 weeks, and he'll bring his experience in there and his pace on the wing, so that'll add to it. Big addition into the forward part though is Ben Howe. Ben Howe comes back in after missing the last couple of weeks, so he's huge for us up front as well. So it's good having Ben and Robbie coming back in. Say Gregor's a miss, but we'll go up to Peebles, as I say, with some confidence and looking to try and get that elusive first win on the road this season.
So Peebles will be fired up for this one, no question about that. Jed-Forest coming off the back of that big win against Dundee, and of course these two teams traditionally you would put Jed in the winning column. I don't think Peebles has beaten Jed recently.
Not from memory, Stuart, and you might look at this one and think, well, Jed were in the Premier last season and Peebles came up from the division below, so there's a bit of a gulf there, but not a bit of it, to be honest. There's no gulf between these teams. I find this too tough to call. Stuart, we said about the Glasgow Accies v GHA game being the makings of a great game, and this is not far behind it. I'm there tomorrow and I can't wait, to be honest. That it really is difficult to call. Peebles will be bouncing into this game, I would imagine, even on the back of a defeat, which sounds like a strange thing to say. And Jed got the job done last week as well, so really big game, because whoever, with the way the other fixtures fall this weekend as well, we talk about the daylight, whoever wins this game, there is going to be a wee bit of daylight there potentially against the Highlands and the Boroughmuirs, etc. So yeah, massive game, and Jed could just do to pick up an away win somewhere along the line, but that applies to all the teams, because it's not a given that you're going to beat the top three at home. You're probably going to lose to the top three at home. So, you know, we spoke about before, but is it 7 wins? Is it maybe 8 wins? Who knows? You're going to have to pick up an away win somewhere along the line, and that Jed will be looking at this one, but Peebles will be looking to defend the castle absolutely, and too tight to call.
And Jed in 6th position at the moment on 17 points. Peebles 1 below them in 7th with 14. So again, incentives for both there.
Oh, definitely. Like I say, it's the incentive is putting daylight between, you know, yourself and Highland, who are currently sitting in 8th on 12 points, and the more daylight you can get as this season's going to pan out, 3 down, 7 into 3, you just need to pick up wins and you need to pick up points, and both of these teams will have this one marked in the calendar.
Well, the other match is Stirling County versus Dundee. There's no doubt Dundee will be going to Bridge Hall with the same attitude as Peebles at GHA last Saturday, with nothing to lose, and the knowledge, of course, that they've already scored a try bonus against GHA.
Yeah, they can go with that confidence, and you know, all the best to them. They're plucky, Dundee, and they evidently, given their bonus points, they're sticking in every week, but I can't see it counting for that much tomorrow for them, Stuart, sadly, and Stirling will, for my money, pick up 5 points there.
National 2 has Berwick on the road to GHK after a disappointing afternoon at Scremerston last weekend, so they need to step up, especially with GHK just 1 point above them. Here's Berwick head coach Paul Pringle.
So last Saturday we welcomed Gordonians down to Scremerston in a fairly wet and windy day. We knew it would be a tough task. They're certainly a very big outfit, but unfortunately we came up short on the day. For me, it was a real strange one. We started off very strong again, you know, Mason Emery going in the corner for a try, but then immediately after we conceded a pretty soft try, and then from the kick-off we conceded another to go then 14-7 down. James Thompson then got another good 40-50 metre try, and you know, I think the centre partnership between James and Rory, you know, is really dangerous, and for me it's a real point that we need to build on, and it can become a real focus of our attack. But it was great to see James get another one in the bag. After that, we kind of just dropped off a game, which seems to be a common theme, and we conceded too many easy tries before Darren Goodfellow got another try. We did get a 4th try, which gave us the bonus point, but to be honest, that was scant consolation for the game. I felt like we should have done better. And in terms of where things kind of slightly go wrong for me, I think there's one probably as a coaching staff, and certainly myself, we need to look at the back three. Felt a bit disconnected, but you know, in reflection, that's probably, we've been tinkering with it quite a bit in the last few weeks, just trying to find that perfect balance. So really want to try and get just a bit of consistency there now to get to get that kind of chemistry built up between the guys. Line out didn't function great, but yeah, these are all the things we looked at this week. You know, the guys are still pretty positive. We just need to build again. I think that the key, what we're seeing in this league, certainly with the last Wade and the Newton Stewart results, are that any team can beat any team on the day, and that's certainly something that we're stressing to the guys, that you know, if we're switched on and we're fully focused, you know, we're capable of beating anybody. But on the flip side, if we are not there 100%, then teams are going to turn us over, whether it's home or away. So yeah, it's tough lessons in this league, but it's a good competitive league, and we're getting, you know, really competitive games every weekend, so that's a plus point. Moving on to this weekend, we've got a difficult away journey to GHK. We know that they're certainly very lively in the backs from what we hear, so we're expecting a good tussle. In terms of team selection, there's not really that much to change. Jack Williamson does come back in at hooker though, which is great, which will allow Ryan Wilson to move back to number 8. Ewan Thompson will go to 6, with Stu Farnaby and Ali Grieve continuing in the second row. But apart from that, a fairly settled team. Looking forward to getting on the road and hopefully get things going again.
9-team league then, a cat and mouse every weekend, 2 go down. GHK have a game in hand on Berwick, so if Berwick can get the win at GHK, it will be a result which would take them out of the bottom two. But it's a fascinating league, nervous moments for every team in that division.
Oh, definitely, and particularly after the results in the division last weekend. And Paul's right, it appears now that anybody can beat anybody, and it was a wee bit of a bump in the road for Berwick last weekend with them losing and of course others around them winning. So yeah, but again, it's the travel they're going to have this weekend, but it's a winnable one, absolutely. And if they can do as they've done earlier this season and put disappointments behind them and pick up wins here and there, then that'll move them up the table. But let's also be honest, it's not going to be an easy assignment, Stuart, that's for sure.
Well, the other games in National 2 are Gordonians against Kirkcaldy, second against first there. Lasswade versus Stewmel, 7th versus 3rd. But Lasswade finding some form in beating Falkirk away from home. But Stewmel comfortable winners last week at home to Preston Lodge. Then there's Newton Stewart home to Falkirk, buoyed by their first win last week, taking the unbeaten record of Kirkcaldy. Well, into the East League now, and Ewen Welsh has been casting his eye over this week's fixtures.
The East League Roundup with Ewen Welsh.
Welcome to this week's edition of the East League Preview, and all 6 of our Borders-based East League teams are scheduled to be in action this weekend. Starting in East League 1, and Langham are at home to Haddington on Saturday after a brilliant 39-19 win away to Dalkeith last weekend. A win this week could take them to second in the league, and once again we can hear from their head coach, Craig Hislop.
Great win on the road up at Dalkeith on Saturday, winning 39-19. We weathered the storm of a big physical Dalkeith team early doors and eventually pulled away, scoring some good tries. We a limited squad, travelled with 18 boys. Injuries is hitting us hard at the moment. This week we welcome Haddington down to Milton. They've been scoring points for fun, 150 points in 3 games, so it'll be a different proposition altogether. Squad wise, pretty much the same. Still missing our captain and vice captain, but the young squad proved their uptake last week, so hopefully we can pull it off again.
Into East League 2, and Hawick Harlequins came away from Corstorphine with a super win last weekend by 27 points to 24. And their captain Liam Graeme will be hoping that result can play a big mental factor when welcoming Livingston to Wilton Lodge Park on Saturday.
We'll make a number of welcome additions to the squad, considering we only had 15 boys last week. To look like we're going to get a full squad this weekend is a great positive for the club. After a really good performance, we're really trying to build on our momentum and just see where we can really go this season. We know that Dunbar look like they're going to be running away with the league this season, winning every game a bonus point so far. So we know we can just, if we can stay in touch, we never know what can happen at the end of the season. We're just looking to get up as high as possible, and this game really can put in place where we can realistically finish. Livingston at the minute sitting second, getting beat only by Dunbar and Leith this season, 2 good teams. We know we can really push on if we win this weekend. We've got a good run of games coming up, especially we've got Dunbar after this game and then a double header against Royal High. But we're not taking this game for granted at all, knowing how good this Livingston squad have been, especially last season where we gave them 2 really good games. We know we'll have to be at the top of our game to find a victory. Welcome a number of players back, but hopefully we keep the core 15 that played last week, because for how good we were, it shows how good a squad we do have. The boys are really looking forward to this game and trying to get another victory on the board.
Into East League 3, and sitting nicely at the top, taking maximum points in their opening 4 games, is Earlston, who continued their excellent start to the season with a 57 points to 5 win against Edinburgh Uni Medics last Saturday. This week they travel to Lismore, and we can hear the thoughts of Cammy Hill.
Last weekend we hosted Edinburgh Medics, and we came away with a comfortable 57 points to 5 win. We knew roughly how they were going to come down and how they were going to play. They've always been a very fit and physical side, and that showed straight from the start. From the start of the game to the final whistle, they tackled everything that moved. We had a very good structure on Saturday, so we done well to break down what was pretty resilient defence. Their back line, they had a few good runners between their 10 and their 12, and there's no doubt in other games this season they're gonna go away and cause teams trouble. As for us, we're really starting to build now, and that's shown. Obviously some really good results lately. We're scoring a lot more points this season than what we did last year, which obviously when you look at last year's table, we know we really need to start racking up them points. And it's really starting to show what we're capable of when we've got a consistent team playing week in, week out. A big difference this year is our bench is changing the game when they come on, which is brilliant to see. Also, a few good really performances Saturday. Chris Rowley grabbing himself a hat-trick. Thomas Richardson getting a brace. Captain Ali Sessford in on it as well. So there's a good variation of who's scoring a try. So they are getting scored from all over the pitch in every playing position. This week our attention turns to Lismore, in which will be a huge game. We know they're going to be a big and physical pack from watching them a few weeks ago, the same as they were last year. So in terms of physicality, we're really going to need to step up and match them. And I think if we manage to do that, I think we'll be in a good place. Squad-wise, it's brilliant to say for the first time this season we've got a full pool of players to pick from. Obviously last week, same as every week, missing a few, which were Jay Fender, Craig Bruce, Morgan Oliver, Dylan Oliver, Martin Linton, just to name a few. But they're back and available this week, so we're really looking forward to having them back in the squad. The only one that we lose is Dave Anderson. He went over on his ankle last weekend, so we're hoping that's just a week rest and he'll be back ready for Hawick Lundeen next weekend.
Well, hot on their heels at the top of the league is Hawick Lundeen, and with an 85-7 win at Inverleith last Saturday, the men in Royal Blue are still unbeaten and a single bonus point behind their border rivals. This weekend they face third-placed Inverleith Medics, and we can hear an update from Hawick Lundeen's Vice President, Kieran Murphy.
Looking to go 5 from 5 in the league. It's our first game at home since the opening day, believe it or not, so I think a lot of people will be happy to see the team back playing on Volunteer Park and get behind them and see how the team's doing. That was quite a while ago, and that was the opening day, as I say, so the team's progressed. There's a few boys came in and out since then, so it'll be good for everybody to see the team again. Edinburgh Medics, they've had a pretty decent start. They've been alright, some good results, some bad. They're just sitting behind us in third in the league, so they had quite a big loss last week at Earlston, but obviously by the looks of things Earlston are a good side, so it'll be a difficult game for us, certainly on the back of our performance last week. Plenty of tries, some great performances for the forwards and backs, so we'll be confident again. Playing at home, we want to put in a big performance leading up to the game next weekend against Earlston, so it means nothing if we can't get past this week and get a victory, so we have to get that done first. But we've only got four boys missing for the team that played last week, and that's Aidan Fairbairn, Scott Glendinning, Jordan Moon, who made his debut last week, who came on and scored a try, so that was good as well to have another face into the club. But looking forward to Saturday anyways, so hopefully you can get the win.
Elsewhere in East League 3 there's a Borders derby as Gala IM face Duns. Gala IM are almost a month without a game due to having to forfeit through lack of players, but if this one goes ahead it should be a good game, as second bottom face third bottom and both teams hunt for their second win of the season. Well, that rounds up the Borders' interest in the East Leagues for another week. All the best to all 6 teams in action.
Ewan Welsh looking after the East League for us this week, and that's it for this edition of the Friday Rugby Preview. We're on air at 2:30 tomorrow for 3 hours with Peebles against Jed-Forest in National 1. That's our feature game with Robin Purdie. We've reporters round the grounds as well on what should be another exciting weekend of Scottish Club Rugby. Friday Rugby Preview will be back same time next week, but from Robin and me, bye for now.
The Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.